Welcome to this presentation on modeling the conference paper assignment problem. My name is Helmut Simonis. I'm from the Insight Center for Data Analytics in Ireland. And this is joint work with Simon de Givry and Thomas Schiex from France and Andreas Schutt from Australia. What we want to show here is a model and a motivation for solving the conference paper assignment problem. We have in the paper an actual MIP model for solving this. We're not going to talk about the details here. The system is integrated with the EasyChair conference management system and can both read data from EasyChair and export the results back into this. This has been used for CP 2019 and this year's conference 2020, and it shows the impact of the bit structure on the quality of the preference assignment. The basic problem for the conference paper assignment is relatively easy. It can be seen either as a bipartite matching problem or as a min-cost max flow problem. Here we have the flow version. On the left we have the persons, the reviewers, and on the right we have the submissions. And the reviewers express preferences for certain papers, not necessarily for all papers. And each reviewer has a lower bound and upper bound on the capacity, the number of papers that they can review, and every paper should be reviewed by a certain number of reviewers to have a fair evaluation. And what we want to try here is find an assignment that maximizes the satisfaction of the preferences while finding a solution that respects all the constraints. So this basic problem can be solved with the min-cost max flow and is therefore polynomial, but if we add more complicated constraints, this is no longer true. One of the things that we needed to add in our system was a multitrack version where we have multiple tracks in the conference with overlapping committees, and we want to respect the capacity of the reviewers over all tracks, not just for each track individually, and use the reviewers where they are required. Then we have constraints that papers that are similar should share some reviewers so that we get an evaluation on the similarities of these papers. We want to achieve a certain amount of diversity, either looking at the organizations where reviewers come from or the geographical regions. We have special constraints for easy papers, let's say short papers, that should not be assigned to people who don't have a lot of reviews to do anyway. We obviously want to achieve certain amount of fairness for reviewers and for submissions, so that we don't have some papers or some reviewers where all preferences are satisfied and then others where none of the preferences are satisfied. If we have some non-preferred papers to assign, these should be spread out over the reviewer pool. And then we want to include preferences of the program chair so that as a program chair we can still control and modify the assignment to actually find better assignment of reviewers for paper. Why do we need this? EasyChair itself provides manual assignment, so you can do things by hand if you want to, but this becomes tedious very quickly. It does provide an automated assignment tool as well, but it does not explain how the assignment is done. And earlier versions where we used this were of relatively poor quality. The automated assignment in EasyChair obviously does not handle any of the additional constraints that we have defined and does not allow guidance by the program chair. It's a push button kind of black box solver, and we needed more control over the assignment in this conference. Here we have the system architecture. I don't want to go into details about this. We have a Java application that reads data from EasyChair and exports the results back, and that can be modified and controlled by the user either through setting files or a user interface. Here we have some information about the bit distribution for the conferences for 2019 and for 2020. On the left we have only the yes bits, the most strong preferences. In blue we have the number of of bids per reviewer, counting how many reviewers specify this number of bids. The black line is a fitted Poisson distribution. The fit is not particularly good. Here on the right we are combining the yes and the maybe bids, and we see that there are a few reviewers here that have expressed a lot of possible papers for assignment. In 2019 there are a few reviewers that didn't actually answer the questions about their preferences, and therefore they don't have any assigned preferences. Overall, the number of preferences here is around 15. This is in 2020 it's a lot lower, it's less than 10. And you also see that the number of yes bids is somewhat lower. We do have, on the other hand, preference bids from all the reviewers. This is a similar view but expressed for the submissions. So we can see that both in 2019 and in 2020 we had a few papers that attracted a large number of bids. These were very popular, and we have a few papers here when we combine yes and maybe bids where we have over 30 possible reviewers that we could choose from. Again, this is somewhat less in 2020. We have only one paper that reaches 30 positive bids overall. And that has an impact on the overall quality of the assignment. In 2019, the program was only run for the technical track, 63 submissions with 85 reviewers, having 539 yes and 1,256 overall positive bids. The system could achieve 84% of assignments taking yes preference, 15% a maybe preference, and only 0.5% using a non-preferred assignment. In fact, there were so many reviewers that in the end there were 9 reviewers that were not used at all because their preferences did not improve the quality of the overall assignment. For 2020, we have 121 submissions, so about double. This includes all the tracks. We have 99 reviewers, and we have a lower number both for the yes bids and for all positive bids. Even though we have more reviewers, people were bidding for fewer papers, and that has an impact on the quality of the assignment. Only 72% of the assignments were taking yes bids, and 21% were taking maybe bids, and somewhat over 5% of all the assignments were non-preferred, and we simply didn't have enough reviewers to satisfy the requirements there. Overall, what we can see for the paper is that this is a useful tool that can help with specific constraints of the conference paper assignment problem. The conference chair can decide which of the constraints to include and what to optimize, and you may actually be able to find a solution that satisfies more preferences if you, for example, allow a different number of papers assigned to the different reviewers, even though you could perfectly balance this. It's integrated with EasyChair, and we have an interactive tool to find a compromise between the different objectives. We have the results for 2019 and 2020. I should perhaps mention that for both of these cases, the solver was running in about a second. What we can see here is the impact of the bid structure and very much the impact of the time frame that is available to make bids and to recruit additional reviewers. In 2020, as you know, we were struggling with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we had a very compressed time scale, and therefore we were not able to recruit additional reviewers once we actually saw which of the papers were lacking bids for a good assignment.